Welcome to the MSDW podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at MS Dynamics World. On this episode, I am talking to returning guest Joe Corigliano. He is the executive director of BizApps Partner Platform at Dynamics Communities. They just completed their BizApps Partner Executive Summit for 2025, an event that we now know will be getting a new name in 2026 thanks to some of the news and announcements that came out of the event itself. Joe and I recap some of the themes from the event, including the way partners are now looking at AI technology, both for their own organizations and for their customers. We talk about some of the key messages we heard from various Microsoft executives who spoke at the event, and we discuss some of the ways the trends in the industry will change the way these businesses execute over the next year and beyond. All right, I am here with Joe Corigliano. We are recapping last week's BizApps Partner Executive Summit 2025, an event that, well, before we get too far into it, I guess it's worth mentioning will be rebranded next year, and that's a bit of foreshadowing of our conversation today. Joe, welcome.
Hey, Jason. Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Happy to have you. It was a busy week last week. Obviously, I was at the BizApps Partner Executive Summit. I said it again correctly there, and I learned a lot. We covered the event, talked to a lot of people. I think attendees came away learning quite a bit about Microsoft's plans for the year. And I would love to get a little bit of your view as someone who was really integral in putting the event together. Why don't we just start with a bit about your experience? What was it like bringing Microsoft into an event like this year? It's not the first time the event's run, but it seemed like a really serious effort, and their presence really said a lot, I think.
Yeah, what a great kickoff question, Jason. Thank you for noticing it. And yes, this year, much more than last year, this event was co-created with Microsoft. Really, John Seifert built the agenda, of course, with feedback from our partner advisory board and some of the most important influential partners around the country helped. But the event was really co-created with Microsoft, and that showed with a diversity of attendees from engineering to sales to go-to-market to the partner team. So yes, it was a big upgun and support of Microsoft this year.
You know, you're someone who many of our listeners probably know, spent time at Microsoft yourself in a few different roles. What's your perspective as a former member of Microsoft's business applications community, among other roles, I suppose? How has it changed? What are you seeing, kind of looking from the outside in?
Yeah, I think kind of the best word that I've heard from someone who spoke at the event is that this year's changes at Microsoft are monumental. Like, it isn't just another year with some new strategies. It is a very hard pivot to really Microsoft redefining itself as an AI first company. And that showed throughout the agenda. It showed throughout the decisions that we've been made aware of for FY2026. And so, yeah, it's a big shift. And that message clearly came across in what they had to say.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to get your perspective on, I was thinking back to looking through my notes from the event, and I think the very beginning of it I thought was actually a very interesting point. You talked for just a few minutes on stage with Karina Nielsen, right, of Cielos.
I did.
And, she took the audience through like all the different efforts that her team has already undertaken and the steps that they're taking and the commitments they've made to sort of change the way they do business. And she didn't go into a lot of depth. It was just a quick sort of kickoff type of conversation. But I think what it said to me was how many different sort of places on the road to sort of using Microsoft's latest technology that different partners are on. I think they're all at different spots right now. I think maybe Karina's team is further down the road, and others are still learning. Was that your take on it? Did you hear anything else about what she had to say, or how other partners compared to it?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I mean, given the business model of Cielos, like, they are the partner's partner. So they're always needing to be ahead of the curve of what the SI community needs and what the ISV community needs. And what I really liked about what Karina had to say is she kind of took it all in and said, it's all about being customer zero. And she went through the number of ways that they are implementing AI throughout Cielos. And I just loved her putting herself up as a case study of what it means to be customer zero. And I think that was a really good point. And then she went on to talk about some of the initiatives that Cielos is involved in internally at Microsoft to help the partners make the move through AI. So I thought it was a great discussion.
Yeah, that point you made about being customer zero, I was just talking to someone else, even in the last day, I think, and that point came up again, and it's such an interesting one because Microsoft is so committed to this. I'm just editorializing here a bit, but Microsoft is so committed to its strategy with these AI solutions, Copilot Studios, obviously one of the key things that was focused on from a BizApps perspective, but they're so committed to the broader AI platform that they're constructing, and they're so committed to the sales strategy of making that key this year, and yet these partners really, Microsoft really, they need these partners to be patient zero, customer zero. Partners can't learn it any other way in this world because it's so new. I mean, they can learn the fundamentals, obviously, from Microsoft team, but the experiences and the way it's going to roll out are so new that they, I think, really need more and more partners to kind of get to where perhaps a Cielos is, or in their own way, maybe not emulating them exactly, and I think that's a really unique and different kind of position compared to maybe the way other new technology has rolled out at the company. I don't feel like partners had to sort of play that role quite as aggressively. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think there's a distinction here, and it's maybe I may editorialize as well, but I think one of the other things I got out of the panel that Terry hosted, with 7 of the top leaders in the industry, and also John Seifert's morning talk with Jennifer Harris of TMC. The point was made a couple times by these leaders that it's about their individual mindset of becoming AI first, and so it's a paradigm shift as opposed to eating our own dog food and, let's say, using Business Central internally, right? It is a shift of how these company leaders are thinking in order to enable them to become customer zero. And that's what I found, kind of very, very hard line thoughts on this. What does that make sense to you?
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to chat a bit more about your perspective on how partners actually, or how you see partners actually evolving. And what I wrote down in advance of this was, do partners expect a shakeup? Do partners expect a lot of disruption? And maybe you could share what you were hearing from partners after taking in what Microsoft said, maybe after chatting among their peers.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably very dramatic when it comes across, but when Terry Petrozelka said, you have to shift the mindset and have to shift into being customer zero within the next 6 months, or you risk being left behind. And Terry's an industry veteran, right? So he still stays very close to the industry. And his comment was, "Hey, I'm afraid many of you won't be here in a couple of years unless you make the pivot." That I know it shook me up a little bit, hearing it, but I hear it. These business models have to be redefined, and that very much came across, Jason.
Cecilia Flombaum, I thought she did a really nice job on the second day of the event. One of the points I wanted to pick up on and get your view on was the idea of Microsoft sort of structuring AI business solutions as a blend of modern work essentially and business applications in the classical parlance, I guess you'd say. And it's not the first time Microsoft sort of had ambitions to bring those closer together, bring those partners to each other, if you will, or create a bit of overlap or something. Do you think this approach is different? Do you think Microsoft will get traction? Do you think partners will buy it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'll use a quote that I love from one of my favorite people at Microsoft named Dan Rippey, who runs partner programs. And Dan's comment that I always think about is watch Microsoft. Like if you want to play chess with Microsoft and really understand where they're going, all you have to do is watch and look at the decisions they make. So very subtle, right? Modern work and biz apps is now AI business solutions. You could also say that's one decision. You could also say what was talked about is that the specialization between business applications and modern work will converge, right? So those are things that you can watch and say what is going to happen over the next 12, 24, 36 months to those products, to those customers, to those partners. And so we're at the early stage of this coming together, but it definitely you can see signs of where things are coming together, and there's some practical implications of this. But yeah, that's one thing that I took away from this event.
Maybe to add to that, one of the things I observed was how Microsoft's own sellers are sort of reorganizing themselves, or sort of not reorganizing themselves, but taking on new tactics to compete, right? Sort of trying to get a clear view of what their competitors are doing and then adapting to that. And I think that's maybe the other way that this, this blend of modern work and biz apps, might manifest itself is through the way Microsoft sells them, and the way they expect partners to get on board with that. I mean, I don't have any specific maybe example of it right this moment, but that could change. I mean, if everything else is changing this quickly, is it possible that that some of those sales tactics or sales strategies change as well?
Yeah, Alex Pombo's talk really stood out to me. And I'm trying to remember his new title. It'll come to me. And it was, it was set in the context of how this new AI business solutions category is unfolding. So, yeah, to me that's another kind of watch and see what's happening there. So Alex is now responsible as a global sales leader for advanced workloads in business process. That's the solution area formerly known as business apps, advanced workloads in business process. So I just think it's one of those things to watch and see what that could mean in context of modern work and biz apps coming together.
Yeah, I mean, the one other thing that I had been talking to people about, and maybe I'll get your perspective. I don't know if you caught this, but the first, the sort of the pre-day, let's say, of the summit was sort of a roadshow style event, and it sort of preceded the real schedule. So I know you were focused on the 24-hour immersion, but people brought, and mostly partners brought up some really interesting use cases that they've developed already, sort of on their own using AI, sometimes as an organization, mostly as individuals. I thought that was one of the most sort of surprising or sort of enlightening elements of the week for me, just sort of hearing the different directions people are taking with what they can do for their teams internally, being sort of that customer zero idea, or just, the way they're trying to sort of improve the kind of their work experience. I don't know. Did you hear any other stories or accounts that stuck out in your mind, either from Microsoft about their perspective on practical uses of this technology, or anything else accounts from partners of what's going on in the real world?
One thing that I picked up on from several of the execs is the need to bring in a new talent set into their organization, and a younger talent set and a more, let's say, AI savvy talent set. And there was one attendee who I met, and he's fairly new to the space, and he is kind of one of his skills is he has such a deep understanding of the various LLMs and when to use ChatGPT for something, when to use Grok for something else, when to use Claude. And so I think there's a whole new emerging talent set that some of the partners are clued into that they need to bring on board. I was on with an executive yesterday saying the same thing, that the skills around functionally knowing the product may potentially lessen over time, and then the knowledge of knowing how to leverage things using these new LLMs may become more important. A lot of conjecture here, Jason, but certainly some things to think about.
Yeah, really interesting observation. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, well, maybe we can start to wrap up here, but as we said at the beginning, with Microsoft's reorg, the event itself is rebranding next year. So from Biz Apps Partner Executive Summit, it's moving to AI Business Process Partner Executive Summit. Did I get that right?
Very close. It's the AI Business Solutions Partner Executive Summit.
Thank you. I still got it wrong. Yeah, business solutions, AI business process is kind of the subgroup within that sort of covers the Dynamics 365 apps, I think, and Power Platform.
Yeah. What I had heard is advanced workloads in business process. So CRM and ERP being advanced workloads in business process.
Okay. So I'm still learning here.
We all are, man. We all are.
Well, thanks for taking the time to sit down with me, and congratulations on a successful event.
Thank you, Jason. Always a pleasure to speak to you. Can't wait to see you soon.
This has been another episode of the MSDW podcast. My thanks once again to Joe for joining me. I'll post a link to how to contact Joe, as well as our coverage from the Biz Apps Partner Executive Summit and related roadshow. If you want to get in touch with me, you can send me an email, jason@msdynamicsworld.com. For all of our updates, please do follow us on LinkedIn. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World, signing off.